This is a video about the new movie Scream 6. Alright, so this movie... Hold on. Yeah? Sure. What's my favorite comedy movie? Scream 4. Okay, as I was saying, this movie was fire. I mean, I freaking love this movie. It put emotion in me. This is the first movie in a while that put emotion in my head. Like, a lot. Don't get super scared by stuff, but I love scary movies, right? Scream is definitely a scary franchise that plays on itself a lot, right? This movie, there was no like super scares that destroyed my brain for 10 minutes, but when it needed to, it was able to control me. It was able to control my emotions. So when it wanted me to be very nervous and tense, it could do that. It could flip that switch in my brain. But then when there was definitely calmer scenes where they were explaining stuff or whatever, it was able to just boom, okay, you're calm now. But with the calmer scenes where they're explaining stuff or exposition, it gets confusing because you're 6 movies over 20 years into this franchise. There's so many interconnections and little family ties. That's a big part of the movie, is this familial connection between the main character. But I've seen all the Scream movies, and especially the last one. I couldn't remember anything that happened in the one that came out a year ago, and that I feel like I still enjoyed the movie, but that took me out of it a little bit. I wasn't able to extremely follow the movie. I liked all the characters in this movie. Every character I feel like was rounded out pretty well, and wasn't just a face, and but I just wish there was more depth and development in some of them. There's a main kind of friend group in the movie, and there's this core 4 that they talk about, and they are all from the last movie, but it focuses on them pretty much the entire movie. There is other characters, obviously, in that group. One of them being the 2 killers, or two of the 3 killers are in this friend group that are Ghostface. But I feel like just they could have had more, screen time, I guess. That's not really what I'm going for. They were on the screen, but it's like they were kind of pushed aside for this main characters, And the whole thing with Scream being like a parody of, horror culture, but then it turned into a parody of itself within a parody with the Stab movie franchise inside of Scream. It's gotten to the point where I feel like instead of it being this parody of horror culture like in the first one, it's rolled back onto itself. It's now a parody of itself, which then had a parody of itself inside the parody. But now the movie with a parody that is a parody is now parodying that. And it becomes serious again. It literally doesn't make any sense the way that could be on purpose. That's the biggest thing. They could be doing this on purpose just to make it stupid. But I mean, it was executed well. They did their job. That's what they were going for. But the pacing was very well. The pacing was very good. As I mentioned before, they were able to have, the emotion they wanted to give you, and they did it at the right time. They were able to stack scenes together that all were connected and also were able to flow together to make a movie. And the story is pretty linear. There's no, really flashbacks or anything, which I liked. And it didn't rely too heavily on the past 5 movies as, oh, you should know this already, or, you should, just look at these and then that's what's going on. It was able to, it made new, I think one of the promotion was New City, New Rules, right? Because in the first Scream, the killer talks about the rules of the horror movie, don't pick up the phone, don't go anywhere by yourself. But this time it's flipped on its head. There's no more rules. The character Mindy talks about, she has this great big speech around the middle of the movie, right after the first couple killings, about, well, you know, nobody can really be trusted. The main characters can be killed now. You're not safe even if you are, you know, like a legacy character. We're gonna cut your head off. And that was kind of stupid because she's referencing the movie inside the movie, Stab, which is a reenactment of the real events in the movie Scream. And and because the killers are trying to like retrace the steps backwards of the original killers, I don't get it either. It doesn't. A lot of it was confusing, and a lot of it was dumb, but it was also very funny. I feel like it wasn't as funny as some of the other Scream movies where, you know, the main point of those was to be funny. This was definitely a very good horror movie, but it was also a pretty good comedy movie. Maybe unintentionally, but there were some scenes where like somebody would get killed out of nowhere that were funny because, like, okay, there's one scene with the reporter, I forget her name, but she's knocked out Ghostface, and he's laying on the ground holding a knife, okay, and she steps on his arm to keep him from stabbing her and grabs his knife, right, and she goes to stab him, but Ghostface is not knocked out and has another knife in their other hand and stabs her out of nowhere, and that was hilarious to me because she just overlooked it because she was, you know, stressed. But then Ghostface just kills her out of nowhere. So the movie was able to do all these things very well, I feel like. But this is probably nitpicking, but Tara's sister, who has this very important arc in the movie about, you know, overcoming the urge to be like her father, who was, I think, the original killer in Scream 1, fighting the urge to be like her father and to become Ghostface, but that's what all the bad guys are trying to tell her to do. And so, near the midway part of this movie, they find this movie theater that has been repurposed into like a shrine of all Ghostface and Stab memorabilia, and she sees her father's old Ghostface cloak and mask and the knife, and she starts seeing her father again like she did in the last movie. She sees these not schizophrenic flashbacks, but like she sees him in like a reflection, and he's talking to her. It's pointless, her whole arc, because at the end she puts on the cloak and kills somebody, which the whole point of the movie was, no, I didn't kill anybody, I'm not the murderer like my dad. She killed somebody, and it was so stupid because the person she killed was the police officer who was one of the ghost faces. And, okay, the rationale for her doing that was retarded to me. I can't say that, guy. The rationale for her doing that was stupid to me because so they knock him out, and then she just puts on the cloak and waits for him when she could have just killed him while he was knocked out, but she had to put on this whole theatrics to prove to him that she was something. I don't know, that's probably nitpicking, but I feel like it's kind of a dumb way to end her story in this movie, at least. I don't know if they're gonna make another one. If they do, I think they're making Scream 7. They already announced it. It's gonna be like Sharknado. But yeah, this movie was a very, very good horror movie. It had the kills, it had the death, it had the gore, but it was able to control it, which I like. It wasn't just a for no reason slasher, and it wasn't a boring movie either. It kept me on my toes. Is that the right word? It kept me scared. It kept me what is the word? It kept me wrapped in the movie. I can't think of the word. It kept me tied into the movie. So it was able to do all the things that I've said, and I think it did it very well. So I'm gonna say this movie is a 9 out of 10. It's probably the best movie I have seen in probably a year. I mean, aside from nothing, this is the best movie I've seen within 365 days. Because Thor: Love and Thunder, trash. Everything over the summer, trash. Whatever released in the fall, I don't even remember. We have John Wick and a Mario movie coming out soon. Definitely gonna go see those. So yeah.